All right. Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to the Champions League Matchday 2 matchups here on Tuesday, October 1st. We're already in October. Can't believe it. The year's almost over. And we have, I believe, 7 or 8 matchups here today. In the Champions League Matchday 2. Got some good ones. I wouldn't say it's my favorite day of matchups, but we got some good ones coming up, and we're going to go over each game. I will go through these quickly, um, just to make things, to expedite things for you guys, so you can get what you need, get the bets, and then get on out of here. It is late where I'm at here in the United States, here in Cleveland, Ohio. But as always, if you guys aren't subscribed to the channel, please do consider hitting that subscribe button, hitting that like button, and hitting that notification bell. Without any further ado, let's go ahead and get started. All right, so we do have two early games, 12:45 Eastern Time here in the United States. And the first one is going to be Stuttgart going up against Sparta Prague. Sparta Prague actually just lost their first game in a long, long time. I believe since last March, when they played Liverpool in the Europa League. So they had a 28 game unbeaten streak, and they just recently lost in their domestic league over the weekend. Now, of course, they're still, really hot, uh, considering they did have that 28 game unbeaten streak. Stuttgart, on the other hand, is coming off a draw over the weekend against Wolfsburg in the Bundesliga, and of course, the lost that first game, match day one in the Champions League. Of course, they were going up against Real Madrid and actually battled them pretty decently in that first game until the second half when they kind of unraveled a little bit. Sparta Prague, on the other hand, had a wonderful first game against Salzburg when they won 3-0 and really dismantled Salzburg in that matchup. Looking at this one, I do like Stuttgart to come away with the victory in this one. But with that being said, what I really like here, instead of going ahead and picking a side, because I do like Sparta Prague, although my worry is that they may be reeling a little bit coming off of that loss, after such a long streak, unbeaten streak. So there is some concern there. However, not to the point where I would necessarily want to pick against them. Although, like I mentioned already, if I were to pick a side, it would be Stuttgart. They are at home, and they are, a very direct squad in terms of their attacking prowess and things of that nature. So what I do like for this game, I do see Sparta getting on the board, and I do see Stuttgart getting on the board. And if I were to pick a side, I would pick Stuttgart, 2-1, something like that. But I do like both teams to score and under 5.5 goals. Now, I am mentioning about attacking prowess and goal scoring and all that, but I don't see there being 6 goals on this. With this particular bet, you could have 5 goals and still win this as long as both teams have scored. So both teams to score and under 5.5 goals. Right, in our second early matchup, we have Salzburg going up against Brest of League One in France. Salzburg, of course, of the Austrian Bundesliga. And these two teams went in opposite directions in their match day one fixture, with Salzburg losing to Sparta Prague, which really showed up in that game, 3-0, and then Brest beating Sturm Graz 3-1. Of course, Sturm Graz is probably one of the weakest teams in the tournament, them and Slovan Bratislava amongst others. And with all due respect to any of the teams that are in this tournament, it's just if you had to do an apples to apples comparison and choose, strong teams and the weakest teams, those teams would probably match up towards the bottom of the table. That being said, this is a matchup that I like, and I like it towards Salzburg. There's two bets that I like for this. Of course, if you look on the graphic, you're going to see Salzburg in under 3.5. I think that's a solid bet. Brest has not started off the season as hot as they did last year in League One France. But again, they did win their first matchup in this tournament, and they're a team that always shows up to play. They, of course, lost their most recent fixture in the domestic league in League One to Saint Etienne, which they really, really did not look good in that game, and I believe they lost 3-0. Um, But I do like Salzburg to win this one. I do look for there to be under 3.5 goals. The other bet that I do like in this matchup, that would probably give you around the same amount of value for your dollar in terms of the odds. I believe Salzburg and under 3.5. I have that price at BetMGM at plus 185. But the other one I like, the other bet that I like is Salzburg with the double chance plus under 2.5 goals. Again, guys, I know I go with these under, um, 3.5 goals and things that under goals a lot, and that's really just because of the value there. When you're going with the over goals, you have to go higher, and it becomes a little bit riskier. I think the risk reward is on the unders a lot of times, of course, but these do, end up burning you at times just as much as the overs end up burning you as well. But for this particular matchup, I do like this bet, and I like it as Salzburg and under 3.5, or again, Salzburg double chance in the under 2.5. Okay, in the first of these 3 p.m. Eastern Time matchups, we have Slovan Bratislava going up against the mighty Manchester City of the Premier League in England. Slovan Bratislava, we just mentioned them a moment ago. They're one of the weaker teams, and again, that's with all due respect to Slovan Bratislava. If I'm being perfectly honest, I thought that they were going to do quite a bit better against Celtic last week. Actually, I liked them on the double chance quite a bit. Of course, that ended up not working out for me. But Man City on the other side there, of course, one of the top teams in Europe, really a dynasty over there in the Premier League. They've won the Premier League 4 years in a row, looking to win it a fifth time. It's probably going to be a challenge for them this year with Rodri being out with his ACL tear. And then we also have Kevin De Bruyne, who is probably going to be out past the international break here in October, but he'll be back probably at the end of the month. But Slovan Bratislava is kind of catch the break here in terms of Man City not being at full strength. That being said, I do still see Man City pulling this one off with relative ease. Kind of hard to find value on this bet. Obviously, looking at the graphic there and the odds that you see on the board, this is one of those games where it's always difficult to find value because Man City is favored by so much. One of the bets that I do like is and I had to search around for value. Really like this one. It's not my favorite bet on the board, but I do really like it, and that's going to be the both teams to score no. Okay, so obviously I'm looking at Slovan Bratislava not scoring in this game, and then the over 2.5. So what I'm looking at is something like a 3-0 victory by Man City, 4-0. Could easily see that. There is a couple other bets that I like in this one. And the one that I do like, I actually see Man City probably scoring more in the first half. So usually I do this bet, first half money line plus under 2.5 goals or over 1.5 goals. I do like actually Man City in the second half money line plus under 2.5. I could easily see them scoring 4 goals in the first half and probably Erling Haaland picking up at least a couple goals in this game. Easily see that. So, even with Erling Haaland scoring 2 goals in this game, getting a brace, that's actually at minus 110. You can't even get even money on that. But look to this bet, and that's going to be both teams to score no and over 2.5 goals. You get plus 110 at MGM. All right, so we have Bayern Leverkusen going up against AC Milan, one of the premier matchups of the day. This one, along with Arsenal versus PSG, and we have Bayern Leverkusen, who is still undefeated this year. Maybe not off to as hot of a start as last year. Over the weekend, they had that 1-1 draw, which was really a heavyweight matchup against Bayern Munich. A game that Bayern Munich dominated really in all facets of the game: possession, shots on goal, passing, um, possession. And then AC Milan, which started off the year quite slow, and then has kind of picked it up in their last 2 games, at least domestically. They have beat Lecce, and then more surprisingly against Inter Milan in that Milan derby when they won that one 2-1. And that was a surprise. And I think AC Milan has built some confidence off of that. However, going into this matchup, we have a Leverkusen side that has guys like Florian Wirtz, Jeremy Frimpong, Boniface, Grimaldo, so on and so forth. It's just so many different attacking options that this squad has. And of course, I'm American. Everyone loves Christian Ronaldo, or Christian Ronaldo, Christian Pulisic, Captain America here in the United States. But with that being said, this is one of the more weaker Milan sides that we've seen over the past few years. And I don't know if you can really count on them in this European competition. Of course, they lost their last matchup to Liverpool 3-1 in a game where they actually scored the first goal in that one. Christian Pulisic with a nice goal in that one. But looking at this matchup, listen, I like Leverkusen. They're at home. I do see AC Milan getting on the board, but I like this matchup and I like it as Leverkusen and both teams to score. Great value in this one. So I think that's what you got to take in order to get the most bang for your buck, maximize that value. Leverkusen, both teams to score. All right, next up we have Dortmund going up against Celtic of the Scottish Premiership. We're going to blast through these next few bets, guys. For this one, I like Dortmund and both teams to score. Kind of went back and forth on this whether or not I like Celtic to score, but Dortmund has been giving up some goals, conceding goals, and I think Celtic with the way they've been playing, they've really been dominant, and have won a bunch of games in a row, um, and just undefeated. And I see them getting on the board, but I do like Dortmund, and they're at home. Dortmund is a team with European pedigree. Uh, he just went over this with Leverkusen, same type of bet. Dortmund and both teams to score. That's what I like for this one. So I mean, you're going to get a good bang for your buck here, good value. Dortmund, both teams to score. All right, moving forward, we got Inter going up against Red Star Belgrade. And again, I'm going to breeze through these next few picks. Of course, another game where it's kind of difficult to find value just because we have one team that's favored so heavily over the other one. Not as much as Slovan Bratislava versus City or Barca versus Young Boys, but Inter is favored quite a bit. Well, Red Star Belgrade is a little bit of a stronger team than those other two squads that we mentioned before. Maybe Young Boys is not a bad team at all. Slovan Bratislava, again, all respect to them. But again, if we're doing apples to apples, we got to pick some teams to be weaker than others. But again, going back to Inter versus Red Star, um, just a bet where you kind of got to search around for value. I'm going to reach back into that bag of tricks that I got there, and I'm going to pull out the and first half Inter money line and under 2.5 goals. I think this is perfect for this one. As long as Red Star doesn't score a goal, I think we're in the money here. So Inter first half money line plus under 2.5 goals. So you could have a 1-0 Inter lead at the end of the first half at halftime, or you can have a 2-0 Inter lead at halftime. You win. And that's going to be you win plus 115 bet MGM. Love it. Right in this next matchup, we have Barcelona going up against Young Boys of Switzerland. And Barcelona coming off a loss over the weekend against Osasuna. Now, that was a matchup in which they rested some of their top players. They didn't put out a first choice squad out there. They were kind of preparing for this Champions League fixture here against Young Boys. Young Boys, they had a really difficult time against Aston Villa in that first matchup, match day one, in a game where I thought they were going to do a little bit better, in which in the first 20 minutes they actually had probably 5 times as many chances as Aston Villa. They actually looked like they were going to Aston Villa looked like they were going to concede, but Young Boys just wasn't clinical enough at goal, and in that final third in order to put any goals on the board, and they ended up conceding a bunch, had a bunch of mistakes in the back, and it just wasn't their day, and that was at home for them as well. So I was a little bit disappointed in Young Boys coming into this matchup against Barca. Barca is known to concede a goal here and there, so. I think young boys, especially coming off against that loss against Aston Villa in that first matchup, I think they will get on the board here. I think Barca with Hansi Flick as their manager is a force to be reckoned with. Of course, Lamine Yamal looking like one of the best wingers, one of the best players in the world. And then Robert Lewandowski has certainly rediscovered his goal scoring form over there as the Barca striker. So I do like Barca and both teams to score. I think this is another really good bet. Is it my favorite on the board? No, but I think they will pull this one off, and this will come to fruition, and you guys will make some money on this one. All right, in this next matchup, we have PSV going up against Sporting Lisbon. And guys, I can tell you this is the game, one other than Arsenal versus PSG, that I'm most looking forward to watching. Really think this is a compelling matchup here. Two teams that really can score the goal, and that out of the two, I would say Sporting is definitely the more hot team in terms of what they've been doing there in the Premier League, and Portugal is really dominating type stuff. And PSV has kind of been medaling along. They're dealing with some injuries. Of course, they do have Ivan Perisic, formerly of Tottenham, of course, been with on the Croatian national team for so long, came over in a free transfer, and he's looking to debut in this. I just mentioned that because obviously Perisic is a guy that I think can provide some value there for that PSV squad. Luke De Jong has been Luke De Jong, he so, but that's the primary goal scorer over there for PSV. Just looking at this matchup, again, this two teams that can score. PSV is known to make some mistakes in the back. They did so in that the most previous game, and it's escaping me who they were playing there. Oh goodness, Juventus, and a game that I had actually Juventus and under 2.5. They ended up scoring 4 goals in that one and really made some silly mistakes in the back that led to some Juventus goals in that one. But in this one, you know what? PSV's back at home there in Eindhoven, and I like the draw on this one. Um, 14, with Gorkarez and Goncalves and all them guys over there. Really like that Sporting team. I think they can actually make it to the knockout stages in this one. They almost certainly will. But PSV is a good squad too. So I look for them to battle in this one, both of them, both teams, and end up in a draw. Really like this bet, and listen, plus 200, got to go with it. So yeah, the draw on this one. All right, I had to save the best for the last. My favorite team, Arsenal, going up against Paris Saint-Germain, PSG of the French League One. And I think this is probably the premier matchup of the day. Really good game. And two teams that I think, when you look at these teams side by side, there's not much separating both of these squads. The one thing that does stick out is, of course, the Arsenal skipper Martin Odegaard is going to miss another Champions League matchup. And that has definitely, you can definitely tell when you watch Arsenal's games, most recent games, you can tell that they're missing Odegaard. He's just a playmaker. In the NBA here, in basketball here in the United States, they call playmaker a guy that, that gets other people involved and puts them in situations for them to shine. That's what Odegaard does, and of course, he's also able to, score some of his own goals. Really became a master of scoring goals outside of the penalty box, really. And I don't think that's something that he did early in his career, but it's really something that he's become good at, over the last few seasons. Um, for Arsenal. So, looking at this matchup here, I think PSG has moved right along, losing Kylian Mbappe over the summer. Um, it's really galvanized that unit in many ways, and I do like what they're doing, and I actually think that they have a legitimate shot to go far in this tournament, even without Mbappe. And what would it look like if Real Madrid and PSG ended up meeting up in the final? Wouldn't that be something? Probably not going to happen, but that man, that would be a compelling storyline. But looking at this matchup, I do like this Arsenal squad. I think they have so much potential. But again, I do like that PSG squad too. And what I foresee in this game is them battling to a draw at halftime. Okay. I think that's good value. I think that's a very strong likelihood of that occurring. And plus, you'll get plus 115 on your money. This is definitely a game I'll be watching. But if I was to give you a recommendation on this one, it would be a draw at halftime plus 115. And yeah, all right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for listening in. Of course, if you like what you see, like what you hear, please do consider subscribing to this channel. We appreciate each and every one of you subscribers. We appreciate each and every one of you listeners, even if you're not subscribed. But hit that like button and come on, let's start getting some engagement in that in the comment section down below. Let me know what you think of these bets. Do they suck? Are they good? Do you want to fade me? Do you want to bet with me? Let me know, so I want to know how I'm doing, even if it's negative, positive, I prefer more, but listen, just start engaging down there. I'd really appreciate it. But until next time, peace out, guys, and good luck.